When I decided to leave Jessica Reynolds, I did three things. First, I listed all the expensive gifts she gave me online and sold them, sending her the money. Treat others as you would be treated, I muttered. Then, like a rat, I sold the house we were planning to move into together for far less than it's worth. I also ruined that Vera Wang dress that cost a fortune. Third, I enlisted. I dedicated myself to the country, erasing every trace of myself from this world. Before she could plan the engagement party, I vanished from her life completely. I'd been preparing to leave since the night she stayed out with little Timmy, playing house all night. I became the understanding, generous man she wanted me to be. Later, when she lost her temper and demanded, "Why aren't you angry? Don't you even love me anymore?" I just looked down. Then I heard little Timmy's muffled voice over the phone and knew it was time to go. Just recently, my professor came to me. "Hank, are you sure about this? This top-secret medical research will take 10 years. You won't be able to communicate with the outside world, and you might never leave." He looked at me, and continued, "Even though you're my best student, I still hope you'll think carefully." I stood in front of Kleinfeld Bridal, watching as Timmy Cartwright wore the custom dress I'd ordered for Jessica, posing for photos with her. They were cheek to cheek, and Jessica even did that silly veil-pulling kiss that's popular on the internet. Finally, she took the ring off her finger and put it on Timmy's. My heart twinged, but then nothing. "Professor, I'm sure. You know I'm an orphan. I don't have anything holding me back. To serve my country is the best blessing I could ask for," I said. "You mentioned this government plan a year ago. Back then, I'd just proposed to Jessica, and I couldn't bear to let go. Now, I have nothing to cling to." He sighed in relief. "I'll make arrangements for you, but time is short. Someone should be here to pick you up in a week. Take this time to take care of things you need to do so you don't have any regrets." As I hung up, I heard Timmy's voice. "Jess, you're the best. I love this dress." The dress Timmy was wearing was custom-made by a famous designer. It took months to arrive and cost $1 million. There was only one in the world. I hadn't even worn it. "It's just a dress. If you like it, it's yours," Jessica cooed as she ruffled Timmy's hair. "Henry might get upset when he sees this." Jessica discovered me in the doorway as she turned her head. Her face flickered with a flash of panic, but she quickly composed herself. Releasing Timmy, who was clinging to her arm, she said gently, "Be a good boy. Go take it off and let Henry try it on." Timmy pouted. "Can't I wear it a little longer? Henry always wears it. You'll have a girlfriend someday. You'll get married and wear a wedding dress." Jessica pinched his cheek. They laughed like they were the only people in the world. Probably afraid of me causing another scene with Timmy, Jessica explained impatiently, "We're just playing wedding. Don't be upset." Before, I would have argued and yelled, maybe even torn up the dress. No one would get to wear it. But knowing I would be leaving in a week, I decided not to make a fuss. I smiled faintly at Jessica. "It's just a dress. If he likes it, give it to him. I have to get back to the lab. See you later." Jessica stood there silently. That night, she surprisingly picked me up, holding a small mango cake. But I'm allergic to mangoes. She still can't remember that mangoes aren't my favorite, Timmy's favorite. "I was worried you would forget to eat while you're working at the lab, so I got this for you." She was already setting me up. It was like she was pushing me to accept this. I nodded, pretending to be happy. "Thanks." Jessica didn't expect me to say nothing. On the way home, she asked, "Hank, are you mad at me?" I was thinking about the lab data I needed to handle, the handoffs I needed to do, the students I needed to help. I didn't hear her clearly, so I just replied, "Huh? Sorry, I spaced out." "What did you say?" Perhaps because I sounded so distant, she suddenly slammed on the brakes and turned to look at me. "Are you still mad about the dress?" I was a little flustered. "No, why would I be?" Jessica stared at me in silence for a few seconds, confirming only calm in my eyes, and then started the car again. But her voice was a little choked up. "Hank, you weren't like this before." "It's true. After Timmy graduated and returned to LA, Jessica and I changed. We'd fought a lot over him. Jessica always said she only saw Timmy as a brother and told me not to be unreasonable. The worst argument, she snapped and pointed at me, saying, "Hank, you're being totally impossible. If Timmy and I had something going on, it wouldn't be your business anyway. Why don't you think about it? You're a poor college student who relies on me to support you. If we break up, I'll just have you live in the dumpster." We were in the Cold War for a month at the time. I had to apologize to make up. Maybe people don't change overnight. The feelings between Jessica and I, after so many years, had faded over the past year because of Timmy. So, now, I didn't react. I just smiled at her. "Jessica, I used to be unreasonable. It'll be different now. Because I would be leaving soon." Before bed, Jessica was in the shower. I saw a post on Timmy's Instagram feed. He was wearing my wedding dress, arm in arm with Jessica, posting 9 square photos. "Got the person I love." Many of Jessica's friends liked the photos, and some commented, "That must be Jessica, only she has that figure and back view." Timmy replied smugly, "Yeah. Jess spoils me the most." I liked the picture, turned off the phone, and got ready for bed. Not long after, the bed next to me dipped down. Jessica hugged me, her body a little cold. "Hank." Her warm breath tickled my ear, and one hand slipped under my shirt. I created some space with her and took her hand and gently said, "Jessica, I'm tired tonight. Not up for it." I was never really to say no to her for this. Before, every time we argued, it would always end up with us arguing in bed and then making up. Jessica loved to make me beg for forgiveness, and then, at the end, hug me tightly and whisper sweet nothings in my ear. Don't give me a reason to be jealous again. But now, knowing I was about to leave, I just didn't have the energy. After being rejected, Jessica stiffened. Maybe because of her pride, she couldn't bring herself to ask me what was wrong, so she just coldly said okay and turned away. The distance between us that night was like a vast galaxy. The next morning, when I woke up, Jessica was gone. Maybe she was afraid I would be jealous of Timmy's post. She, who never made breakfast, left a plate of burnt toast, fried eggs, and milk on the table and wrote a note, "Love you, honey. Eat it up." There was also a text message, "Honey, the dress is in the office. Try it on and send me a picture. I'm sure you'll look great." After eating, I deliberately went to the stationery store and bought a countdown calendar, tearing off a page. 6 days left. I went home and started packing, starting with the office, getting rid of all the photos, books read together, and documents. Putting everything in the suitcase, a diary fell out. It was a diary recording the sweet moments in our love. Every page was full of sweetness. The paper was yellowed with age. After thinking for a while, I decided to keep it, but looking at that garish dress, I couldn't help but take out the scissors and cut it to pieces. I felt a little better. I also sold all the expensive gifts she gave me online. In the end, everything was sold by the time I finished packing. 6 p.m. The phone notified me that there was a show at 7 p.m. This show was quite famous, an immersive performance. The tickets had been booked long ago. I didn't plan to ask Jessica if she would go, because she'd already forgotten. Sure enough, before it started, she said she was busy with work and told me not to wait for her for dinner. I didn't have time to buy a front row seat and sat on the right side near the aisle. The show was good, a tragic love story. I cried. At the end of the show, when the actors went off stage to interact with the audience, the screen suddenly focused on Jessica. She was sitting next to Timmy. So, she was busy with her little master. And she even had the privilege of buying front row tickets. The spotlight shone on them, and they really looked like a great match. When the actor asked them if they were a couple, Timmy immediately leaned on Jessica, and the audience teased them. When asked if they were moved and wanted to cherish the people next to them and their fate, and wanted to kiss like in the last scene of the play, Timmy was a little stunned, and then smiled and kissed Jessica on the lips. I can't be sure what she was thinking. Jessica suddenly pushed him away, stood up, tilted her head slightly, and across the crowd, our eyes met. My heart seemed to feel nothing. I looked away, picked up my bag, and left. At the exit, Jessica ran after me, her hair disheveled. Maybe because she saw that I'd been so calm all this time, unlike before, she began to explain seriously. There are people watching. I can't lose face in front of everyone. I nodded. I understand. She paused, and then asked, "Are you being sarcastic because you're jealous?" I smiled. Why would I be jealous? At this time, Timmy also ran out, but just as he was about to reach us, he suddenly twisted his ankle. Jess, that hurts. She wanted to help him. Jessica was concerned about his situation. With a painful expression, I spoke first. It looks pretty bad. You should take him to the hospital. If it's a tendon injury, that wouldn't be good. Jessica was surprised by my understanding and took my hand. I'll take him to the clinic nearby. Wait for me outside, and I'll come back for you. I replied calmly. Okay. Jessica looked at me for a while, seeming to want to find something from my expression, but I wasn't angry at all. Finally, she let go of my hand and helped Timmy leave. I wasn't planning on being foolishly waiting for her like before. Instead, I went back on my own. When I got outside, I received a call from my student, saying that some data in the experiment was wrong and that everyone had checked for a long time but couldn't find the reason, asking if I could come and help. I hurried over. In no time at all, the sky was bright. The error had been found and fixed. The other students surrounded me and praised me. In the end, they were reluctant to part. Professor, are you really going to do secret research? I nodded. Yeah. But aren't you going to get married soon? Don't you regret it? I paused slightly and smiled. National work is more important. As for Jessica, it doesn't matter if I'm there or not. This world doesn't stop turning just because someone leaves. Dragging my tired body back home, I opened the door and saw Timmy standing there again. He came out, saw me, and didn't panic. Henry, don't get me wrong. After the checkup yesterday, I put medicine on it, and it wasn't over until the evening. My parents aren't home these days, and no one takes care of me when I get back. Jessica was worried that I couldn't move around, so she brought me back. At that moment, Jessica walked out of the bathroom. Maybe she thought I would be unhappy again, so her face clouded over. Hank, I don't want to start something in the morning. Timmy wanted to come to work with me, but he didn't have anything. I lent him a set today. Before she finished, I immediately agreed. They were both stunned. Jessica looked at me with disbelief, seeming to think my reaction was too calm. She explained, Timmy slept in the next room last night. Don't think about it. I interrupted her. I don't think anything. You guys grew up together. You treat him like a younger brother. There's always a room in the house for him. He can come at any time without my permission. You've said that, haven't you? Jessica paused, her voice softening a little. It's good if you think that way. I really hope that you and Timmy can get along. Just then, the doorbell rang. I had made an appointment with the delivery person. Jessica realized that I had put a lot of things in the living room. She went over to take a look, and her face immediately darkened. Hank, what's the meaning of this? Do you not want all the gifts I gave you? I was about to open my mouth when she picked up a music box with a groom wearing a white dress turning inside. Her eyes were a little red. You don't want this either? We were so poor that day, and we couldn't afford a more valuable gift, but you still stubbornly said that you would marry me and be my groom. I believed it. But reality slapped me in the face. A love with 3 people is too crowded. I don't want it anymore. I said softly, in order to avoid further complications. You're overthinking it. I asked the experts to help me refurbish everything. Why wouldn't I want it? Seeing that I still had a gentle expression, Jessica felt relieved. Okay, I'll arrange for someone to come to your house to reinstall the cabinet to put these things away. I nodded. Don't you guys have to go to work? Go on. I have to go to sleep. With that, I went straight to the bedroom. Jessica still wanted to say something, but I had locked the door. When I woke up, it was already afternoon. I tore off a page on the calendar. Only 5 days left. The professor asked me to meet her and said that the research had been published in a journal. Jessica suddenly called and said I would go to the school, and she would come down to pick me up and take me to Guangzhou. I opened the car door. Timmy was sitting in the passenger seat. I said nothing, got in the car, and sat in the back. Timmy chuckled. Hank, don't be mad. Jessica used to drive my mother's car, and I just sit in the passenger seat. They say sitting in the back is like hiring a driver. It's not very polite, so I'm used to it. I wasn't mad. On the contrary, I smiled gently. If you want to sit, just sit. Jessica glanced at me through the rearview mirror, trying to find a topic of conversation. On the way here, I saw a research paper by someone named Ganghua. It was very impressive, and it said that it could create great value for the country. It's just like your research. Ganghua was a pen name. I used it when publishing the research. The professor said it was to protect my personal safety. As soon as Timmy finished speaking, he pretended to cover his mouth. Sorry, Hank. I said it bluntly. I didn't mean anything. Jessica's gaze also began to look a little unfriendly. I replied indifferently, sometimes, you have to accept the differences between people. To work so hard every day is just to live a confused life. When we get married, you can stay home. I just grunted in response, then looked down to reply to a text from my professor, avoiding her gaze and tuning out their chatter. Timmy Cartwright got out of the car at the intersection 2 blocks from my school. Thanks for the ride, Jess. Love you. Then he winked at me. See ya, Hank. I looked at the name of the condo complex on the sign. Isn't that the complex where we were supposed to get married? Is he hanging out with friends? I asked. I didn't say anything more. Jessica glanced at me. His ankle is hurt. I just gave him a ride because I was passing by. Don't overthink it. I acted very calm. It's normal for you to give your little brother a ride. Jessica choked up, silent for a moment, then pulled a big bouquet of flowers from the trunk and gave it to me. I know you've been unhappy lately. I'm sorry and I want to make it up to you. If you really don't like that wedding dress, I'll order you another one. Okay? She seemed to want to do everything she could, but I wasn't interested. I looked at her phone, scrolling through wedding dress designs without any emotion. Just go ahead. These things don't matter to me anymore. I gently pushed her phone away, handing the bouquet back to her. Whatever you want, honey. My professor was looking for me. Just as I was about to get out, Jessica grabbed my hand. Hank, what's wrong with you? Her expression was full of confusion, even a bit of bewilderment and helplessness. What's wrong? I was about to leave, but I didn't want to argue with her, so I just patted her hand lightly. Let's talk after I'm done, okay? The professor praised me for this research, but she was still worried. Life at the research institute is very boring. Can you endure a life of doing experiments and processing data all day? I nodded, thinking about Jessica's disdainful attitude in the car. I said seriously to reassure the professor, I definitely won't disappoint you. You're a nationally designated researcher, the most talented of the talented. How could I let you down? I'm actually very lucky to have this opportunity. Leaving the office, I saw my student standing by the window, snorting. I asked him what was wrong, and he replied angrily, Hank, isn't that your girlfriend? I just saw her drinking boba with a guy. Why aren't there any boundaries? Isn't that cheating on you? I patted his shoulder to comfort him. It's okay. That's her younger brother. Younger brother? Jessica lost both her parents when she was young. Timmy's family took her in. After she became successful, it's understandable to help her younger brother. Unexpectedly, my student got angry immediately. That's ridiculous. You're a 1,000-year-old fox playing what kind of game here? Hank, that younger brother is definitely a snake in the grass. I'll go unmask him for you. I quickly pulled him back. Don't act rashly. I've caused trouble before. Jessica just looked at me coldly. Hank, are you really that incomprehensible? Don't you understand my relationship with Timmy? Are you still jealous? Is that even fun? It really wasn't fun at all. I didn't want to get into trouble before I left, so I told my student that I was leaving in 8 days and asked him to keep it a secret for me. Leaving? Are you still getting married? I shook my head. No, I'm not getting married anymore. I have to go. Just then, Jessica spoke up from behind. Hank, where are you going? I wasn't sure if she had heard what I said earlier. I just replied calmly, I'm going to another school for a brief exchange. She seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Not knowing what she was thinking, the smile on her face became even more obvious. Let's go home. I have something to tell you. I nodded. Jessica said she had set aside 2 days to travel with me. Don't you want to see the sunrise? Let's go relax for a bit, okay? Sounds good, I said. She sighed, then threw herself into my arms. But she still smelled of Timmy Cartwright. Hank, I love you. So, whenever you're unhappy, you have to tell me, okay? I nodded. Okay, I promise to be by your side more and not let you suffer. I trusted her, acting according to her wishes, with understanding and generosity. I trusted her. But on the 3rd morning, Jessica didn't show up again. She sent me a text message. There's a sudden problem at work. This time it's my fault. Hank, I'll make it up to you next time. I had expected this and wasn't sad. Jessica's promises since Timmy appeared had all become worthless IOUs. So, last night before bed, I only booked a ticket for myself. The mountains were quiet. I lay in the hammock listening to the crickets chirping, and my mood became completely calm. Before going to sleep, I saw Timmy Cartwright's post on WeChat. Wow wow wow. My parents are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. I get to enjoy it too. Under the clear blue water, Timmy hugged Jessica tightly, and she supported his waist, afraid he would run out of oxygen. Fish surrounded them. They both smiled happily. So, there's a problem at work meant going on vacation with someone else's parents. With only 3 days left, I had finished watching the sunrise and was getting ready to go back. I continued to clean up the remaining belongings. The crafts I made in my free time, the clay dolls that I made with Jessica, the photo wall in the living room, the strange box cabinet in the bedroom. I sold what I could sell and threw away what I couldn't. That afternoon, the house was much less cluttered. I remembered that there were still some belongings in the new house that had been moved over, so I planned to clean it up as well. As a result, when I arrived, I found that the password I had set had been changed. I tried many times but still couldn't open it. In the end, I had to call a locksmith to help me open the door. Stepping into the house, I suddenly froze. It wasn't an empty house with no one living there. It was a room full of a man's belongings. On the photo wall in the living room were pictures of Timmy Cartwright and Jessica. The cactuses I raised and the formaldehyde-absorbing plants had all been thrown away. There was a yoga mat on the balcony, and his underwear was hanging out to dry. On the coffee table were all kinds of snacks, even half-eaten potato chips scattered on the rug I had chosen. Even in the main bedroom, my clothes had been thrown into other rooms by him, and the closet was now full of his clothes, with Jessica's clothes nearby. If you didn't know, you might think this was their home. I suddenly remembered that day. Jessica took him home and stopped here. I remembered when he got out of the car and gave me that meaningful look. So that's what it was. Jessica still hasn't gotten the point of shared home. She brought someone else in before she even lived in this house. My head started to ache. I really wanted to argue, not because I still cared about her, but because it felt so disgusting. But after thinking about it, it wasn't necessary. She had always been biased towards Timmy Cartwright. Why should I make myself suffer? This house was bought with the inheritance money from my parents and was in my name. Now that I was about to leave, this house was no longer needed. I called a real estate agent and asked them to sell it quickly, at a price 20% lower than the market price. Now people sell houses through short videos. Because the house was well maintained and was a wedding home, and was located in a school district, they quickly came to shoot a video and then promoted it everywhere. Before leaving, they added me to a WeChat group, saying that with this location and this price, it would definitely be sold in a day. They told me to prepare the documents so that I could sign the contract at any time. What about the stuff in the house? Do you need it? The agent asked before leaving. I looked at the house that I had worked so hard to decorate, now completely changed, and then replied, please clean it up for me. I'll pay the fee. I was sitting in the living room processing the last of the data when the doorbell rang. Jessica's assistant told me she had been entertaining clients and got drunk. I found it a bit funny. To make this lie more believable, she even brought her assistant to act with her. Perhaps to make the performance better, Jessica was really drunk. I told the assistant to put Jessica on the sofa. I didn't even give her a blanket. Turning around, I walked into the bedroom. The next day, when I woke up, Jessica had just come out of the bathroom. Seeing me, she said in a reproachful tone, Hank, did you let me sleep on the sofa all night yesterday? I blinked. What else should I have done? What if you catch a cold? I suddenly remembered when Jessica first started her business. She worked hard, often staying overnight in the cramped office. I was worried about her suffering. Whenever she slept, I always prepared a blanket and heating pads. The thermos was always full of hot water. But she seemed to have forgotten. That day, I was also very tired. I was also trying hard for my studies. It was because of love that I could try to care for someone. But now I just wanted to leave quickly and didn't care about her anymore. So, I said slowly, oh, okay. She paused and then started to observe me again. Are you still angry about what Timmy did? I smiled. I've already said it, you two can't be anything. Do I need to be angry? Jessica looked at me in disbelief. As I was about to go into the kitchen, she stopped me again. Why don't you care about me anymore? She always said I was following her. She didn't like it. When I couldn't find her, I called her assistant. She said I was annoying. Now I didn't care about her anymore, and she wasn't happy. But I didn't want to argue. I didn't have the strength. I just said softly, you must be tired from work lately. She looked at me silently for a while, then went into the dressing room. I was making breakfast. I had just cracked an egg when she suddenly ran out. Why are there so few things in my closet? Where's the toy shelf? Why is it gone? Isn't that the thing you like the most? After selling the gifts last time, I started cleaning up my remaining belongings. I really regretted the toy shelf. I had saved up for so long. But I couldn't take it with me, so I sold it all. Jessica had never cared about these things before. I don't know why she's suddenly starting to notice. So, I replied casually, I don't need it anymore. She looked at me in surprise. Time passed minute by minute. I'll buy it back for you later. Even if it's the stars in the sky, I'll pick them for you. I looked down and said nothing. She looked at the countdown calendar and asked me suspiciously, countdown 2 days? What are you doing in 2 days? I glanced at the big red letters. She didn't know. After tomorrow, I would be leaving. I thought, should I tell her now? But then I remembered the diamond ring box that slipped out of her pocket yesterday, and Timmy Cartwright shared the link to the brand's ring on WeChat. In the end, I said nothing. The ring I was wearing was still the simple ring that she had saved up for when she first graduated to buy for me. The price wasn't expensive, but it was the heart of a young girl. I had treasured it for a long time and never wanted to take it off. But now I gently took it off and placed it in Jessica's hand. Her face immediately darkened. "Hank, what do you mean by this?" My expression was still calm. "The ring has been worn for a long time and it's a bit worn." She suddenly understood. Not knowing why, her expression became gentle again. "It's true that it's been worn for too long. I'll find someone to polish it. Also, I'll give you a new surprise." "What surprise?" Jessica said with a smile. "You'll know in 2 days. Honey, trust me. I love you so much." I looked down and said nothing. In 2 days, it would be the day I had to leave. I thought I wouldn't be able to wait any longer. Jessica continued, "Let's visit our old school tomorrow, okay?" I nodded. Jessica and I had been in love for 8 years, studying at the same university for 4 years. Then I was kept at the school to study for a master's degree, while she chose to work. Then I studied for a doctorate, and she succeeded in starting a business. Then she said, "Let's get married." There were no friends to witness it, no proposal ceremony. I agreed because at that time I thought our relationship was unbreakable and no one could separate us. Looking back now, I was still too young. True love always changes unexpectedly. That afternoon, I went to the school to participate in a charity conference for the school's medical foundation. Unexpectedly, Jessica also came. Backstage, she looked at me with pride. That day, I saw that article, and I immediately contacted the partner and joined in. If I was a little later, this good news wouldn't have been my turn. "Hank, do you know someone named Quincy Howe? Can you help me find out? I want to ask for an interview or ask that person to be an ambassador for my company." I looked at her silently. For a moment, I really wanted to tell her that I was the person she was talking about. But then I heard her say, "How could you possibly know them? Geniuses only play with geniuses. You don't have the qualifications to know them." I wanted to speak out, but swallowed it back down. "I don't know them." She seemed to have anticipated that I would say that, and she curled her lips. "I heard that there's a list of people who have been selected to study at secret national units. I guess Quincy Howe must be on that list." "Yeah," I replied casually. Jessica moved closer to me. "Do you know this list?" At this moment, one of my younger students came to call me. "Hank, the professor told you to go take a group photo. A lot of people want to take a picture with you. If you don't take it, you won't have a chance." I agreed. As I stood up, Jessica took my hand. "Taking photos is a routine. You'll have plenty of chance." I pursed my lips and pulled my hand away from her. "It's nothing. It's just that someone has to go." "Who has to go?" "No one." As I turned back, I saw her still standing there, looking at me with a confused expression. "Jessica, I'm leaving. You don't need to know." One day before the countdown, Jessica broke her promise again. In the middle of the night, she received a call from Timmy Cartwright, crying that he had forgotten to bring his keys. His parents had gone back to their hometown today, and he didn't know what to do. Jessica deliberately approached me to see if I was asleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. Outside on the balcony, with her back to me, her voice was clearer in the silent night. "Why are you back home? Didn't Hank let you stay at home?" Timmy Cartwright cried. "I came back from the trip and didn't go in. I was afraid that Hank would find out and be unhappy that day. I plan to move back in a few days. If I let you stay, then you stay." "What's the matter?" "Jessica, is that it? I'm so scared. The old apartment is too dark. I feel like someone is following me." "Don't worry, don't turn off the phone. I'll be right there." When I woke up, Jessica still wasn't back. I didn't want to ask or call her to see if she was coming because my professor had told me to bring my documents to school and there were some things I had to take care of. On the way, I got a call from Jessica. "I'm sorry, Hank. We'll go back to school another time, okay?" I agreed obediently. "Okay." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, and then she suddenly asked, "Aren't you mad? Still mad? Aren't you going to ask me where I'm going? Or who I'm going with? I'm a grown-up. I'm not a child who needs to be managed." Jessica paused for a moment, her voice becoming choked up. "Hank, I feel like you're so far away from me lately. I feel like I can't hold on to you anymore." I felt very strange. Before, she told me not to be jealous, not to be angry, not to argue. Now I was calm, with a good attitude, but she still didn't think I was good. But it's okay. She'll soon understand that people only have no feelings for things that aren't important. "Hank, don't you love me anymore?" Her last question was too soft, so soft that it disappeared into the air with the sound of a passing bus. Finally, she sighed softly. "Hank, I won't be home tonight. I'll come pick you up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Trust me, I'll give you unforgettable days." Tomorrow? I wouldn't be waiting. But then I thought she would definitely break her promise again, so I replied in a gentle voice, "Okay." The professor said we would be leaving at 1 a.m. tonight. Someone would come to pick me up. "Have you taken care of everything? I heard from your brother that you were planning to get married." I raised my right hand. There was no ring. I smiled and said, "I'm single." The professor nodded. "Hank, 10 years in isolation. If there's anyone you want to say goodbye to, say goodbye quickly. After this, you really won't be able to see them again." I gave a sound of agreement. At noon, the whole school held a farewell party for me. Even my younger brother was crying with red eyes. "Hank, I really admire you. I want to follow in your footsteps." I patted his head. "Work hard. I'll be waiting for you in there. You wait for me. I'll come find you." That afternoon, the agent called me to sign the contract. I was surprised by how quickly it was happening. She said this was the internet age. Of course, it was highly efficient. The buyer was a teacher from the school next door. They just wanted to be close to work and were paying in cash. I rushed over from school, signed the contract, and then signed the power of attorney. The rest would be taken care of by the agent. In the evening, I returned to my old school, walking on the road that Jessica and I had walked together. Actually, we had some sweet moments too. On the athletic field, Jessica held my hand for the first time at age 20, her face blushing. In the small forest, we kissed for the first time, our hearts racing. In the library, we studied together and smiled at each other. Under the dormitory, we hugged tightly, reluctant to part. At age 23, Jessica put that ring on my hand. Her eyes were red as she said she would marry me and give me a good life. At age 25, she succeeded in her career, hugging me tightly. How many zeros are on the card? How many children will we have later? At age 27, she said, "Hank, let's get married." We were happy, with no so-called 7-year itch. "I'll always love you." She, whose heart and eyes were only for me, but at age 28, because of another man, she constantly abandoned me. I was no longer her first choice. Remembering that song, how can intense feelings disappear so quickly, while the slow feelings keep burning, are still boiling? I bent down and wiped away my tears. I thought I had let go, but when I remembered the years together, I still felt a little sad. But it's okay, I comforted myself. That's just human nature. Time is a good medicine. Everything will eventually fade and be forgotten. When I got home, I packed my luggage, finally cleaning up all traces of myself and quietly waiting for the moment of parting. When the clock struck 12, I tore off the last page and wrote a sentence on the blank space. Jessica Reynolds, I'm not getting married. I wish you and Timmy Cartwright happiness. Suddenly, I remembered what the professor said. After all, you once loved each other. I still prepared to say goodbye to Jessica. The phone rang for a long time before it connected, but it was Timmy Cartwright's voice. What time is it? What's up? My fingers curled up. Where's Jessica? Jessica? Timmy Cartwright giggled. She was too tired just now and is taking a shower. I thought I would feel heartache, but when I pressed on my chest, it felt like nothing had changed. Timmy Cartwright's voice continued to enter my ears. There's nothing else. I'm going to hang up now. We still have part 2. Immediately after that, the phone sent me a picture. Jessica and he were sleeping together. I turned off the phone. Looking at the empty house, Professor, look. I also wanted to say goodbye, but this is the result. Then I thought, not everyone is suitable for saying goodbye, so let's not meet again. I erased my fingerprints on the lock, picked up my luggage, and walked into the darkness. The next morning, at 8 o'clock, Jessica called Hank. She had been busy all night, finally preparing the proposal on the grassy hill. She thought the proposal a year ago was too hasty. Even though Hank didn't care about these rituals, she still wanted to give him the best surprise. What others have, she also wanted him to have. Most importantly, she felt that recently, Hank had been strange, like he was going to become a kite, flying farther and farther away, and she couldn't hold on to him anymore. She wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the dress and tell him that she had ordered a new style. She also wanted to rest in the mountain breeze, under the sun, and apologize to Hank. The plan was for both of them to open their hearts, and then prepare for the wedding. He was her most handsome groom. But no one answered the phone. She thought maybe he hadn't woken up yet. After all, he often worked late and came home, but he was always disciplined and couldn't sleep so late. She felt a little worried, comforting herself that maybe he was making breakfast and didn't hear the phone. After waiting for a while, she called again. The phone still went unanswered. She finally began to worry. She told the driver to drive faster. Someone in the group asked her if she wanted to scatter flower petals on the road up the mountain. She looked outside. The sun still rose as usual. She thought that Hank must be bathing in the sunlight now, a normal day like any other day. He just didn't hear it, not intentionally not picking up, right? If he knew what she had prepared for him today, he would definitely be moved to tears. He was always soft-hearted towards her. So, she replied okay in the group. On the road full of flowers, they would definitely move towards a brighter future. Jessica stood at the door of the house, took a deep breath, and then stepped in. Hank's slippers were nowhere to be seen. She felt a stab in her heart, then comforted herself that Hank was definitely wearing slippers in the room waiting for her. After all, yesterday when she said she would pick him up at 9 o'clock, he had agreed. So, she called out loudly, but no one answered. The morning light had already shone in, but the house was even more empty. She suddenly realized that there were no longer any photos on the photo wall in the living room. This whole house seemed to immediately lose all traces of Hank. Maybe he had put them away. Every once in a while, he would clean the house. He must have put them somewhere else. However, she still quickly went to the bedroom. In the closet, there were only her clothes. In the drawer, there was only her ID and documents left. Even the blanket was newly changed. In it, there was only the smell of laundry detergent, not his smell. The office was the same way. On the table, there was only a yellow diary left. She opened the diary, and with each page she looked at, her mood became even heavier. The diary recorded the details of their meeting, understanding, and love. But now, each word was like plunging a sword into her heart, causing her so much pain that she could hardly breathe. Memories once again appeared in her mind. They once had a wonderful youth, a love that made others jealous. They were both orphans, supporting each other and rescuing each other, spending 8 years together. Just a little bit more, and they would get married. The last page of the diary was written in a new font. Jessica Reynolds, this is the end for us. The date written was today. Her eyes fell on the wedding dress hanging behind her, torn from the chest to the skirt. Jessica began to feel her nose stinging. There seemed to be warmth rising in her eyes. She clenched her palm, forcing herself to calm down, but didn't realize that her hand was still shaking as she made a phone call. "Hank, pick up the phone. Please pick up the phone." Her voice was choked up, but on the other end of the phone, the familiar voice no longer seemed to be heard. She tried to find traces of him in this house, a house full of their memories. But she noticed the wall calendar that once said 2 days left, and now there was only one corner left on the dining table. The blank page said that he would not marry her. It felt like suddenly falling into an ice cellar, and a chilling cold rising from under her feet, like a large net, choking all the words she wanted to say. She could hardly breathe. Suddenly, the phone rang. It seemed like she had found a life-saving straw. She quickly took out her phone. It was Hank. It must be Hank. But to her disappointment, the name on the screen was Timmy Cartwright. "Jessica, did you get through? We're waiting up on the mountain. Is he still mad at me? Is he not coming? I don't know why, but thinking of Hank's words, 'I wish you and Timmy Cartwright happiness,' she felt like she was about to lose control. He was still holding a grudge. He was always holding a grudge. He was only pretending not to care because he was preparing to leave step by step. He had been too disappointed in her, so he didn't want to argue anymore. He just coldly watched her hurt him, watching her abandon him every time she had to choose. She was a bitch. She should have realized that he was not okay. But what was she doing at that time? The dress that he was looking forward to, she had not hesitated to let Timmy Cartwright wear. She promised to travel with him, but she had abandoned him to play with the parents of the Cartwrights. She said she would go to her old school with him, but she had chosen to refuse because of a call from Timmy Cartwright. Each thing was like a fine net wrapped around her heart, causing her pain. Jessica ran out of the door, looking for Hank's student. She rushed over. "Where's Hank?" The student looked at her with disdain. "He's gone." "Didn't you know?" "Gone? Where did he go?" The student didn't say anything more. Jessica's eyes were red. She grabbed his hand, as if tears would fall in just a second. "Please, tell me where he went. Is he going to a school in another city for an exchange?" But in her heart, she knew that if he really went for an exchange, he wouldn't have erased all traces of himself like this. The student smiled faintly when he saw how miserable she was. It was so funny. When she was ambiguous with that deceptive younger brother, why didn't she care about him? She was stunned. The student continued. "This year, if you did something that really deserved him, he wouldn't have made this decision. A year ago, he rejected the professor's offer because he wanted to marry you. But a year later, because of the countless times you hurt him, he chose to cut off everything, not wanting to see us again in 10 years. The student choked up. "He is too good of a person, a role model for me, but he had to marry someone like you, a bad woman." Jessica's heart felt like someone had grabbed it. "What did you say? 10 years? 10 years of not meeting?" The student wiped away his tears. "It's good that he doesn't have to see you anymore. Just go and regret it. He is the best person in the world. Losing you is not his loss, but because you are not worthy. It's disgusting." Jessica didn't know how she left. The sentence, 10 years of not meeting, kept echoing in her head, like a hammer hitting her heart, making it bruised and broken. How could he be so cruel? Besides those words, "You left me nothing." Suddenly, she remembered the wedding house not far from the school. When she arrived, the real estate agent was directing the moving company to clean it out. She demanded to know how they dared touch this house. The agent replied that the contract was signed and they were processing the transfer. The owner said they didn't need any of the belongings. Another blow. Hank knew. He already knew. He knew she had let Timmy Cartwright stay in this house just because it was closer to his office. She realized she had made a mistake, a terrible mistake. How could she let someone else stay in the wedding house he had prepared for them? What would Hank think seeing someone else's belongings all over this house? She didn't dare think any further. But he hadn't said a word to her, not even a phone call or a questioning text. He was completely disappointed in her, which was why he was so cold. The events of the past few days replayed in her mind. The fragmented pieces gradually connected into a whole. Hank Kyung, wasn't that Hank's name spelled backward? He was the one who had to go participate in that secret project, the talented one. And she had used cold words to stab him, saying he was nothing, just a useless person. Her fiancé was so outstanding, but she was only realizing it now. She and Timmy Cartwright were clearly not having an affair. She only considered him a younger brother to repay the Chow family for raising her when she was young. How did things turn out this way? She was full of regret. Ever since that incident a year ago, she shouldn't have hidden it from Hank and gone to pick up Timmy at the airport, seeing him home when he was drunk. Hank found a leather shoe that was still in the car. Then there was the incident 6 months ago when Timmy Cartwright broke the password in the middle of the night, soaking wet, and appeared at her house, cutting off their intimate moment. Hank asked a simple question: why does he have the password? And she had shouted back at him without distinguishing right from wrong, calling him petty. She should have been by his side during those days but had abandoned him, thinking that there was still a long time ahead, so she had carelessly broken her promises. Too many things had happened. Jessica thought back and forth and sat sobbing in the wedding house they had planned. She was so terrible. The meticulously prepared proposal now lacked the host who was supposed to appear. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief that Hank had silently joined that secret medical research project and had to go for 10 years. This seemed to be saying to everyone that there was no one here important enough for him to stay. Jessica took out the custom-made diamond ring, but she couldn't find her missing groom. She cried and laughed, looking like she was going crazy. The calls she made were never answered. The messages she sent were never replied to. She wanted to apologize, to repent, to beg for a chance to be forgiven and start over, but she could never meet him again. This feeling of being out of control made it hard for her to breathe. Hank, you're so cruel. With such a resolute look, he had completely disappeared from her life. Timmy Cartwright rushed over to hug her. Jessica, he doesn't love you anymore. Don't be like this. It hurts me to see you like this. Suddenly, she remembered the image of Hank holding her phone early in the morning, asking him, did he call? Timmy Cartwright looked at her in panic. No, there wasn't one. Lies. She tightened her grip on his throat. Timmy Cartwright, I'll ask you one more time. Did you delete those calls? What did he say? Timmy Cartwright was still stubborn. I didn't. Trust me, Jess. At this time, someone stepped out from the corner of the room. She turned on a video. She and her boyfriend had a habit of making video calls until morning, often recording the screen. So she had recorded the conversation between Timmy Cartwright and Hank. Why are you calling so late? It's Jessica. Timmy Cartwright, she was too tired just now. She's taking a shower. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. Wait a minute, we still have part 2. The whole room was silent. Everyone there understood what these ambiguous words meant and could also guess that over the past year, how many times Timmy Cartwright had blurred the lines between sister and brother, causing Hank to misunderstand their relationship. Jessica, let me explain, Timmy Cartwright pleaded desperately, almost crying. Jessica pushed him away hard, saying with an expressionless face, Timmy Cartwright, I have paid off all the debts to your family. You can leave. Timmy Cartwright almost went crazy, shouting. Jessica, I admit I'm despicable, but I really like you, that's why I did this. We grew up together. You're so good to me. If you get married, why can't that person be me? I'm younger than him. Compared to him, I'm better looking, and I have more time to be with you. Hank has left. I will love you in his place, okay? Timmy Cartwright cried so much that his makeup was smudged. Jessica looked at him coldly. No, for the rest of my life, I will only have Hank. You can leave. 3 months later, Jessica received the wedding dress she had ordered. She had to struggle with a pile of empty wine bottles to get up and open the door. When she opened the huge gift box, she thought of that day at the bridal shop, when his suit was worn by Timmy Cartwright, and they played wedding together. She had seen Hank making a phone call outside the window. If she had been a little more careful, she would have noticed his eyes gradually dimming. If that day she had chosen to stay at the bridal shop waiting for him, putting the dress on him with her own hands, and then taking pictures together and posting them on social media to receive praise from everyone, would the result have been different? But there was no regret medicine in this world. Hank would not come back and would never forgive her. Jessica hugged the new wedding dress and sobbed in the house without Hank. I was at the research institute in a mountain. Before removing the SIM card, I saw Jessica and her friends calling continuously. Among them, one person sent me a picture of the proposal, using flowers to form the initials of my name and Jessica's name. She said it was a surprise, but in fact it was a proposal. However, I didn't need it anymore. I didn't reply to anyone, forever freezing this useless phone. Time at the research institute passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was 10 years and the drugs that we researched in secret had been launched on the market. In the 11th year, I and my colleagues were invited to attend an international academic conference, with bodyguards protecting us throughout the journey. After participating, we received interviews from reporters. When preparing to leave, a younger colleague patted me on the shoulder. "Brother, there's someone who keeps looking at you." I looked back and saw Jessica. She was no longer the enthusiastic girl, nor the lively teenager. Now she had entered middle age and looked very old. It was almost impossible to recognize her. Our eyes met from a distance, and memories suddenly surfaced, but it felt like a past life. As she hurried to approach, she was stopped by the bodyguard next to me. "Hank, it's me, Jessica," she almost cried. "Hank, I beg you, give me a few minutes, okay?" After checking her luggage, we sat opposite each other in the meeting room. At this reunion, my heart truly had no emotions. Actually, the junior had told me about her a long time ago, saying that after I left, she became addicted to alcohol and her health was getting worse and worse. The company almost went bankrupt several times, but she still tried to work hard, afraid that there would be no way to search for news about me in the future. She had bought back my house after the resale restriction period ended, not knowing what to do with it. After losing her help, Timmy Cartwright's family life became increasingly difficult. Then, for money, he became the gigolo of a married woman. He was discovered by the wife and beaten in the street, and as a result, he was hit by a car while running away. He might live the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Knowing these things, I didn't feel any change. After all, compared to the great things of the country, these feelings were really insignificant. Seeing that I was so cold, her voice choked up. "Hank, I'm sorry." I pursed my lips. "I don't need that apology anymore." "Do you still blame me?" To me now, titles. Jessica was just an insignificant guest in my life, not worthy of having extra emotions. Moreover, those loves and hates had passed for more than 10 years, and had long been worn down by time. And I had long since let go. But now, looking back, it seemed that Jessica couldn't forget it all. She regretted and suffered, and tears streamed down her face. I regret it so much. I really regret it. If I hadn't entangled with Timmy Cartwright, we would have been married and could have had children, right, Hank? I was wrong. I was the one who hurt you. Now when she cried, she no longer had the beautiful appearance of that year, but now there was only pitiful haggardness left. We loved each other for 8 years. I still kept my qualities and cultivation and couldn't say bad words to her. Moreover, I really didn't care anymore. So, I just said lightly, "Look forward." Jessica said in a trembling voice. "But I'm still waiting for you. In this life, besides you, I won't marry anyone else." I looked at her in surprise, and she looked at me emotionally, her eyes full of pleading, as if she wanted me to be moved and shed tears for her self-proclaimed deep love. "Hank, can you?" I opened my mouth softly. Forgot to tell you, I got married 3 years ago. The hope in Jessica's eyes was immediately extinguished. My wife was a person who had been carefully selected by the country to get to know. I heard that when she was in school, she had secretly sworn that she would come to my side when she heard about my glorious achievements. So we were together for many years and finally got married. She is also a researcher. At this time, my wife opened the door and walked in, holding a bouquet of flowers. When Jessica saw her, her eyes suddenly trembled. My wife is 10 years younger than me, she is at the peak of her youth. I smiled slightly. I understand you. Everyone likes young people. My wife came in front of me, gave me the flowers, and then looked at Jessica contemptuously. You're so old. Jessica's expression shattered little by little and she couldn't say anything for a long time. Jessica only felt that her heart was being scraped out, and tears instantly fell down. She thought that after more than 10 years of waiting, there would definitely be a chance for Hank to forgive her again. After all, they had 8 of the most beautiful years. But she didn't expect that he had already crossed thousands of mountains, not only with a new life but also with a new partner, who was younger than her and better than her. Looking into his eyes, they were full of love. At that moment, she seemed to see herself in his eyes, the one who should have been by his side was her. She regretted it beyond description. Even the simple wedding ring that he had worn for so many years, she didn't dare to take it out. Finally, Jessica still took out the ring and made it and Hank's ring into a necklace. I wish you happiness, she said. Hank's cold eyes fell on her face and she hurriedly and humbly explained, I don't mean anything else, I just hope you live well. I'm living very well. With the urging of his wife, Hank took the necklace casually. Jessica's heart, which was almost suffocated, had now dropped down. At least he was willing to accept it, which meant that he couldn't forget her either, the one he once loved. I took the necklace, vaguely remembering the old days. That year, we didn't have any money, but under the moonlight, we held hands and smiled so sweetly, then hugged and kissed. It seemed that that moment was eternity. But the mood at that time could never be healed. And I also don't need any late apologies. At the door of the meeting room, I put the necklace in the trash can, turning around to see Jessica's desperate expression. She stood there alone, like a gust of wind could blow her away.